I have 7 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order this January 13, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of White Lake. And I would ask, first of all, that you bow your heads for the invocation. Dear Lord, we wish to thank you for the opportunity for us to come here to discuss the business of this town. Lord, we ask that you guide and direct us as we attempt to do your will and to do those things that are in the best interest of the citizens of this town. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Okay, we always start each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask at this time that anybody who's in the audience, you're welcome to join in with us. I'd ask Mr. Womble if he would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of consent agenda items that are contained in your agenda packet. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, the next item is the presentation of the Town of White Lake personnel policy updates that we have that has been updated for us with the MAPS group. And I think we've got Erica Phillips here tonight to present that for us. So Ms. Phillips, if you will step forward at this time, we'll listen to your update. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Town Board of Commissioners. Thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the personnel policy project that we completed for the Town of White Lake. My name is Erica Phillips, and I work for a group called the MAPS Group. We've been around since 1982, and we're comprised of 5 to 7 consultants that work across the state of North Carolina. We do HR consulting only for public employers and only in the state of North Carolina. And we do all of our work through the North Carolina League of Municipalities. So we are a preferred partner for the League of Municipalities, meaning if an organization reaches out to the league and they need help with maybe a class and pay study, recruitment for a certain position, personnel policy update, they'll send that contact information to us, and then we will work with that organization. So all of our contracts go through the League of Municipalities. For this project, we completed the class and pay portion of it a couple months ago. And I know that you all have already received that information that's been approved. And then typically the second part of a class and pay study involves updating the personnel policy. So the Town of White Lake already had a personnel policy. It looked like you've had it for a long time. It was modified in 2017 and then updated again. Some changes, looks like in 2020. I'm not sure what those changes were. But I will say, once I got the policy, there was not a lot of changes that needed to be made to the policy. It was very much up to date from what I see, and I see a lot of policies. So right now, the League of Municipalities has a grant program where they will reimburse an organization 50% of the cost of a personnel policy project. So because of that, we're getting a lot of requests to do personnel policies. So I probably do 1 or 2 policies for organizations across the state of North Carolina a month, which is unusual. Usually we just do maybe 8 or so a year. So I see a lot of policies. Sometimes the policies look like individual policy statements, kind of depending on what the organizations had. Some organizations don't have a policy. I had a town reach out recently and they just don't have a policy, so they want to create one. So the fact that you had one is wonderful. It was very much up to date. There's just a couple things that when we went through, we wanted to make some changes to certain kinds of benefits that you might want to consider, certain kind of HR practices, kind of best practices in human resources. So it is important to look at your policy periodically because some things change over time and you do want to stay competitive with your benefits and your pay. You also have laws and regulations that change over time. So keeping your personnel policy current with those regulatory updates ensures that the town's in full compliance, and that mitigates any risks that you might have with legal issues or HR issues with the town. Also, it's best practice for human resources management it's not static. So there's always changes for best practices. And a lot of times, like the listserv that you might see, like an HR listserv or the quick listserv, you're going to see some kind of best practices that are out there. And a lot of times it's good to take your policy and incorporate some of those best practices and some of those changes that you may see into your policy. In addition, benefits change over time. So you want to make sure you're competitive, not only with your pay, which is what we did with the class and pay policy, but also with your benefits. So when you're looking at your total compensation for your employees, it's not just the pay, it's also the benefits that you provide to them. So that may include the holidays that you provide, the vacation leave accrual that you may have, any kind of additional benefits outside of that. If you do 401k, and if so, how much do you contribute to the 401k? So it's nice to look at those benefits periodically as part of your personnel policy as well. It is very time consuming to either draft a personnel policy or to update a personnel policy. So most organizations that I go into, it's hard. And believe me, I worked for an HR director for 22 years in a municipality. And all I did was HR, and it was very hard for me to find time to update our policy. I was taking it home in the evenings and trying to do it. And one year I actually had a consultant come in and do it for me because I just did not have the time to do it on my own. So a lot of times organizations will just reach out. It's nice to have a third party, another set of eyes take a look at your policy. And it's nice to have somebody else put in the time to look at the policy and make some recommendations to the town. Having a well-maintained policy also provides clear guidance to your employees and to the town staff. So if you have something in the policy that doesn't make sense to an employee, maybe the policy doesn't read right, or employees are reading it one way and the staff are understanding it another way, it's good to make sure you're going in and when you're doing those updates, make sure you have everything kind of clear in that policy. So typically the process for a personnel policy update is we get what the town currently has, if they have one. We read over what the policy looks like now. We make some initial recommendations, and then we'll meet with the town staff about those initial recommendations. And then there's usually multiple meetings after that. We talk to them about, well, these are some recommendations that we have. These are some things that we saw, some benefits that you might want to consider that might make you very competitive. And then we'll kind of go back and forth, and there's multiple meetings. And they may be in-person meetings, they may be telephone meetings, they may be Zoom meetings, depending on what the organization wants, until we get the policy the way that the town wants to take it to you for ultimately approval. So what I wanted to do, I know you've had an opportunity to look at the updated policy. I just wanted to highlight a few of the changes. Obviously, there's other small changes, but any kind of policy change that might be a little bit bigger than just the wording or the way that I maybe worded something, we want to make sure we bring forward to you. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those major changes. The first, I just updated the format of the policy in general. So I made sure that every chapter, which we call an article, has a section number on there, and then the pages in the table of contents all match. It just kind of updated the format throughout the policy. Also added sections for the responsibilities for the town administrator. That was something kind of new. So it's nice to be able to break out what are the responsibilities of the town board, the town administrator, department heads, employees, so they all know what are their responsibilities in regards to this policy and everything that's included in it. We did update the administrative leave. The town currently offers administrative leave to exempt employees. Exempt employees aren't eligible for overtime or comp time, but a lot of organizations provide, sometimes they'll call it professional leave or executive leave, and you all have it called administrative leave. So that's for, yes, an exempt employee may have to work 60 hours in a work week to get their job done, but it's nice. You don't have to, but it's nice if you compensate them somewhat, hour for hour for some of that work. That administrative leave does end without compensation, so employees, exempt employees, are not due any kind of payout from the town if they leave. It just allows them to take time off at a later date if they've had to build up some of that administrative leave, or what a non-exempt employee would consider comp time. We updated the on-call pay. You already had on-call pay, or what was called standby pay. And so with that is if you have an employee, and typically you might see that in Public Works, an employee that's going to be on call for a week, they would be paid $50 for that week of being on call. And the nice thing about having a dollar amount, I see a lot of dollar amounts. I also see some organizations that have 1 or 2 hours of the employee's regular rate, but having a dollar amount makes it equal for all employees depending on what their pay is. So if you have an employee that makes $50,000 a year, they're going to get $50 for the on-call week. the same as an employee that maybe makes $35,000 a year. So it's $50 for the on-call week, for that 1 week that you serve on call. Of course, if they're called back in, that's additional pay. But this is just for being on call for that 1 week. We also updated the holiday pay section. Holidays, I see a little bit, depending on the organization, kind of done, it's differently in every organization. But we wanted to make sure that employees knew that employees are worth holidays are worth 8 hours. They're equivalent to 8 hours, no matter what your work schedule is. So you may have some employees, for example, that work 4 10-hour days. So their typical day is 8 hours, but the holiday is still going to be equivalent to 8 hours for them. So it's 8 hours no matter what your schedule is. But employees that might have to work on a holiday, in addition to getting the 8 hours for the holiday and for the pay that they would typically get for working on that day, they'll also get time and a half for the hours that they worked on that holiday. So I think that's a nice way to be competitive, and it's also a nice way to reward your employees that have to work on a holiday when other employees are home with their family and their friends and doing something else. So it's just an additional benefit for those employees that might have to work on a holiday again when everyone else may be off. We recommended updating the longevity pay. The way it is in the current policy, it's basically called like a service bonus. And if you decide to update the longevity pay, this would only impact employees that are going to be hired after the effective date of the policy. So current employees would still be eligible for the benefit the way that it's written now. And so typically what we see is like a range of years of service. If it's 2 to 5 years, you might get $100 for your longevity, and 5 to 10 years, you might get $500 for your longevity. So we recommended something like that. Sometimes you see dollar amount bonuses, sometimes you see percentages, but more and more I'm seeing dollar amount bonuses because it's easier for you to budget for in your budget. In regards to the conditions of employment section, we added a section on confidential information, basically telling the employees they have to make sure that anything that's required to be confidential is kept confidential, and use any kind of information that they may obtain by working for the town for any kind of personal or financial gain. We added a section on attendance and tardiness. Obviously, you can address attendance and tardiness if you have that issue with your employees without having this section, but it's just nice to have it on there. That's one of those gray areas where if you have an issue with an employee with attendance and tardiness, it just helps a little bit to have something in there saying, well, I mean, you knew when you received this policy and you signed that you got this policy, that it is a requirement and it is a condition of your employment to be present at work and to be on time. We added a section for lactation support for nursing mothers, and that's from the Pump Act that was recently passed. And basically that gives employees time to pump time away from work for 12 months from the date of birth. We added a technology policy. Basically, there was just a paragraph in there. We usually recommend an organization have a lengthier technology policy, but with the new technology policy that was changed, you do have to address it in your personnel policy. The state requires that. So we did indicate you prohibit inappropriate use of any kind of technology. That's not just a computer. That may be any laptops that you're issued, any cell phones that you may be issued from the town. And obviously the town has to also periodically take a look at that technology to make sure it's not being used inappropriately. Workplace harassment, you already have that in your current policy. I just like to add a little bit to that. When I worked in HR, I dealt with a lot of harassment, and I dealt with a lot of workers' comp. So I always like to strengthen those sections and add as much information as I can in there, kind of spell it out for the supervisors and for the employees. And then we just added a paragraph on remote work. Basically, it's just saying this can be an option. It's definitely determined by the town. If that's going to be an option for the employees, there would be a written agreement that would be in place, and the schedule and the location would be determined by the town. So it's just giving you the ability to have this option for employees if that's something that you wish to do. In the benefits section, again, updated and just kind of strengthened that workers' comp section part of the benefits. Also added a paragraph on the tuition assistance program. That is a benefit that we see most organizations seem to provide that to their employees. Usually the difference is the dollar amount that they would provide. So we put $500 per year, and of course it requires prior approval by the town administrator, and there has to be funds available for that as well. So we made sure that that was written in there. Some organizations do 750, 1,000, but if you're going to offer this benefit, it's nice to start with 500. I don't usually see a lot of employees use this benefit, but it is nice to be able to have that for someone that may be interested in that. It can be a recruitment tool, retention tool. For the holiday and leaves of absence section, just kind of wanted to mention some things that we recommended. One was a birthday holiday. So this is just one paid holiday for the employees, and it needs to be used within 7 days before or after the employee's birth date. The birthday holiday doesn't accrue, and it does end without compensation. So if an employee leaves and they never take that holiday, the town isn't paying that out in any way. And it's just a way to add another holiday, another nice benefit to the employees. And I see a lot of organizations starting to offer a birthday holiday. They offer like a floating holiday, which is just kind of open for the employees to take whatever they like, or if they have a religion that they might want to take a day off for, but it's not currently in the town's holidays right now. They can use the floating holiday for that. And where I'm from, I'm starting to see like a mental health holidays as well, where employees 2 or 3 days that the organization might provide for the employees just to take mental health breaks. So that's, I think, something new that we're going to start to see in municipalities across the state. You already had a leave of absence section and leave without pay, but I like to break those up because you may have employees take a leave of absence and it not be leave without pay. And so we wrote it. So if an employee wants a leave of absence for some kind of reason, they have to get approval for that, but they would be required to use their vacation and sick leave before they went on leave without pay, because you do want them to go ahead and burn that up. So if they then leave, you're not having to pay that out afterwards. So vacation and sick leave would be required to be used first, then they could go on leave without pay. And while they're on leave without pay, they wouldn't continue to earn any additional vacation leave and sick leave. And then we added paid parental leave. And I know Sean and I talked about this a little bit, how much to offer. I live in the Triangle, and the towns there in the Triangle, what you'll see is one town will offer one benefit, and then all the other towns are offering the same benefit because we're all competing for the same employees. So we all started offering vehicle take-home cars for law enforcement, and then we all started offering paid parental leave. So one organization did, and then we all did. Then it was elder care leave. We're seeing that up there, and paid parental leave is one of those things. So basically, if an employee, and it could be a male or female employee, for the birth of a child, for adoption, they're able to take the town will basically provide 1 week of paid leave for them to do that. So since the town doesn't qualify for FMLA leave, you can still provide FMLA leave, which is 12 weeks of paid leave in a 12-month period, 12 weeks. We still thought it would be nice to be able to at least give them something since they are not eligible for that FMLA leave. So it'd be 1 week of paid leave for employees. The disciplinary action section, what you had was what I typically see in personnel policies across the state. I like to leave it a little bit more open because when I worked in HR, you don't want to see something that ties you down to too many steps, because if you then don't follow those steps, you could be in an issue. So if it's written where you have to have 3 counseling sessions and 2 oral warnings and 3 written warnings and a final written warning, and you don't do one of those steps before you terminate somebody, it can lead you some liability there. So I like to leave it open. So I kind of just changed it a little bit to where you have flexibility. You may follow all of that processes, and you do want to typically follow progressive discipline with your employees. Give them an opportunity to improve in the areas and let them know where they're not working effectively or they're not meeting expectations. So it does mention progressive discipline, but it also gives you the ability to say, this just isn't working, and don't necessarily have to kind of follow these steps. So those are just some of the highlights we wanted to mention to bring out to you. Obviously, a personnel policy is a living document. So you constantly want to be looking at it and updating it. It's easier if you get it to a point where you want it. And then if there's 1 or 2 items that you want to change in the future, the staff can bring to you maybe there's 1 or 2 items that they need to change. So it's just a good time, since they were doing the class and pay study, to look at the entire policy and make some recommendations. So those are the primary recommendations. Just want to see if you had any questions.
Anyone on the board have any questions this time? This will be an action item a little later on the agenda.
Yeah, usually we have workshop studies to be informed on all these phases, and we were not. We're a council, mayor, form of government, not a town manager. I have got my packet read through the best I could, and I do have quite a few questions I'm concerned about. I'm not ready to make action tonight until these changes. The highlight, so we know highlight does. What did we change? What's so important? You know, in the past, we said this is what we're currently at, and this is what we're changing to. Those are issues. I don't know about the rest of the board.
I agree.
This is the council, or mayor, council, form of government. The mayor serves at the pleasure of this board. The decisions we make is upon us. We gotta live with it. So, I just want to share that with you and my feelings towards where we're at tonight. Thank you.
So
Any
you
other
mean it would,
questions anyone?
it would be helpful to see, like, take your current policy and maybe have it be red line so you can see exactly what
Bingo.
those
Just
changes,
what
like
we-
a red
in the
line copy
past.
of it.
Exactly. It'd be very helpful.
Yeah,
But it's hard for me to get it on Sunday night.
Right.
I'm here on Tuesday and we're wanting to make action when I got too many unsolved, unanswered questions. So,
Right.
Any other questions? If not, we'll consider this later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 3 is administrative matters. The first item on that is the project updates. First, White Lake Water Management Project update. Have the report of Dr. Larson that is contained in your agenda. She is working on the White Lake 2025 annual report and has yet to receive some of the results, but has provided us one of the sections which is complete. Of note in that is the substantially lower rainfall we had in 2025. It's the lowest annual total seen over the period included in the table below. In 2000, it really extends from 2015 up through 25. Monthly rainfall at White Lake was below normal through May, and again during the fall of 2025. Total rainfall in 2025 was greater than 10 inches below average for the region at 42.8 inches. That volume of water equates to 56% of the total volume of the lake. And if you look at your charts in there, you can see the monthly rainfall in inches that is presented in chart form from 2012 through 2025. And that was measured at the town wastewater treatment plant. There was a moderate variation in lake elevations in 25, 10.8 inches with the lowest level, and it was 63.7 feet NAVD 88 seen in November. The 7-year mean high water level for the lake was 64.86 feet measured by NAVD 88, which would have been 65.86 or thereabouts with the older datum 29. Total variation in lake levels over the 5-year period was 22.8 inches, which is in line with what has been measured historically. And again, you'll see the chart on that regarding lake level. And also the annual lake elevations high and low for each year 2019 through 2025, and the lake level variation from high to low in each of those years. Basically concludes by stating the improvements in air quality have resulted in the elimination of acid rain across the continent in recent years, including at White Lake. So the annual median pH of the rainfall and lake water has increased about 1.5 standard units since the mid-1970s. The National Atmospheric Deposition Program Station at Clinton monitors rainfall and posts results to their website with a time lag of about a year in the generation of trend plots. 2024, the median pH of rainfall was 5.76 standard units with a range from 5.44 to 6.55. And hopefully, either at the February or March meeting, we'll have our full 2025 report, and we'll try to get that out to you as soon as we have that. Okay, next item on project updates is the water AIA project update. Sean, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Mayor, this project is roughly 75% done, which is in alignment with the update I presented to the board last month. I will share with you that staff is working with our engineering firm and asking some follow-up questions to be proactive, particularly for the asset management plan in the procurement of grant dollars. That has caused a slight delay in the establishment or the creation of an asset management plan. So moving forward, the next steps for this month and beyond are to finish the capital improvement plan, which will then lead to an asset management plan for the board to review. Mayor, if there are no questions, that concludes this month's update.
If you will, also, if you'll handle the entertainment reimbursement agreement with Dixie Youth.
Yes, sir. This agreement, as Mayor Womble mentioned, is with Dixie Youth locally in town. These are pre-budgeted dollars. You see an agreement in your packet based on recommendations from the school of government. Those recommendations, in short, are to establish agreements with organizations in which the town contributes to, so that the town can verify the proper use of the funds that have been submitted to the organization. This agreement is for $800. Again, these funds have been pre-budgeted in this year's budget. If there are no questions, Mayor, staff would ask that the board approve the agreement as presented.
So moved.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. In item D, as you are aware from having received your agenda packet, the staff has received notification from Mary Jo Lennon of her resignation effective January 16. And staff is proposing to name Amber Glisson, Deputy Finance Officer, as Interim Finance Officer. And of course, we'll be bringing you more information later on in regard to an additional position on that. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the Interim Finance Officer role as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Yeah, should Terry be involved with the audit of the books, net changeover? Terry is over administration, and shouldn't she be auditing when they're changing it, reconciling the checkbooks and this type of, since she's over that department?
We've never had anyone that's over a department do that before, so I wouldn't propose it.
Well, I wouldn't see why she's over that department, so we wouldn't have another letter I having to sign tonight about facts and findings.
Well, if you want to do something on it and pose it on the agenda, and we'll bring it up. Right now, tonight, the action matter is approval of the Interim Finance Officer role as presented.
So
You go.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Item E, appointment of interim human resource officer. Staff is proposing to name Sean Martin, town administrator, as interim human resource officer. At this time, I would entertain a motion for that approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, Sean, if you would take the bid proposal on the AMR meter upgrade in the amount of $863,948.57.
Yes, sir, Mayor. As the board's aware from previous finance conferences, particularly during budget retreats, the current method in which we read our meters is inefficient and ineffective, to say the least. Long story short, we read about 1,500 meters a month with personnel, and there are about 1,500 meters a month that are read digitally. The system works about 50% of the time. Tonight before you, as indicated in the administrator's report, staff is presenting a proposal to upgrade the town's automated meter reading system at a total cost of $863,948.57. This proposal, of course, is in your agenda packet. I hope you've had time to look at it. This amount includes, as outlined in your agenda packet, the purchase of the new system, the software training, and the installation. I do want to call to the board's attention that thanks to the board's fiscally responsible decisions over the past couple of years since I've been on staff, staff is able to recommend funding of this project using cash on hand from the wastewater and water capital reserve accounts. That's to say, again, speaking just from the time that I've been here, we as a board and we as staff have been able to accumulate monies in preparation for projects down the road. In other words, use the monies to the best benefit to our customer base and our citizen population. If approved by council, town would still maintain over $3 million of reserve money separate from the budget to be able to respond to any utility reserve questions or any utility problems that come up down the road with these reserve funds. You can think of them sort of as a savings account, as we've discussed at budget retreats. So it gives you some idea that we will be in good shape, even if staff, the board accepts the proposal tonight that's being presented by staff. I am certainly able and willing to answer the questions of the board, but I do want to let the board know that we have 2 members from Core and Maine with us tonight, should you want to ask them questions as well.
Well, I thank you for all you work on that, and we are able to pay that out of our current funds we've set aside and have lots left in reserve, and that speaks well for you and Sam. Appreciate all your efforts on that. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the AMR meter upgrade as stated in the agenda.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Hey, I got one thing. I just want to double check on, if you'll notice on the top of that bid, the bid date was from 10/31 of 2024. I know it was printed on 11/21/25, and there's a 10-day clause in the back. I just want to make sure that that figure is current and up to date. That's
Sure. This, I think, gives you some indication of how long staff has been working on this project. Kevin and I and some other members of Public Works have met with multiple agencies and organizations to determine the best fit for our town. But I'd be happy to defer the answer to the question to our Core and Maine representatives.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been working. It's about mid 2024. They August 20. I would say years ago, real pricing. There was a sense of urgency on this one, being that the pricing is so old. John and I have worked through that. We should have been the manufacturer of the water, hold the pricing. For the year bill, pricing.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin, could you share with me what I would consider the ROI on this as far as the implementation? Will there be a point in the next few years where we can read this electronically on the computer in here? The staff can do it rather than having men in the street, men in trucks, et cetera. How long is it before this unit's obsolete versus it going in for, I mean, how much are we spending now per year? This is 800,000. How many more years will we have after we pay it off? No, please come up. Hey, look, and I'm new and I'm totally ignorant to this project. As you said, we just came on board last month. Commissioner Shaw and myself, we're totally ignorant. We're just trying to represent our constituents. And if it's a payoff, it makes sense. If it's not, everybody knows me.
Bert, do you mind if I fill them in on some of our internal logistics, and then I'll let you take over for the benefits of the system? Commissioner Barefoot, we spend about $150,000 a year reading meters right now. As discussed in my budget or in my agenda item proposal, 50% of our meters are read manually. There's a man in a truck that reads that meters by looking at that meter. So that equates to $150,000 a year in manual labor. As you know, the system costs $863,000. So you're looking at probably 6 years on an ROI, the meter life return on investment. The meter lifespan, Brody, you can certainly attest to this, is 20 years. So there's about a 15-year life expectancy if
Over the payoff.
Over the payoff, yes, sir. To answer your question about reading these meters, the way we have presented this plan tonight, our staff's idea, because we do read 50% manually, is to go to an AMR system. Without getting in the weeds, that's an automated read system. That's a radio system where we still have to have a staff member reading based on an electronic device that's gathering the signals from the meters that are put in the ground. Once we establish the baseline, because again, right now, we have 6 members of our staff reading 5 days a week every month just to get the meters read and the bills sent out. So once we establish the baseline, the plan is to then go back to Core and Main to try and procure the antenna devices, for lack of a better term. They look like a cell phone tower, to read the meters that we're putting in the ground with this project by what's known as AMI, Advanced Meter Infrastructure. Thank you, Brody. So long story short, the same meter that's going in the ground with this project is capable of being read by hand with a radio control device, as well as electronically with a continuous read to this office.
Okay.
So
So
we won't
will we be,
have folks going back out and having to read it and have a guy in a truck all week, reading the thing. And we'll save a lot of labor on that. We'll have a guy in a truck, what, half a day?
Half of that.
About half a day, and we'll go around and read it, and do all the reading that was done in 5 or 6 days before, which will save us a lot of money. And that's built into this that we're doing. And then beyond that, it has the capability that we will convert it to an auto read where we don't even have to have the guy in the truck. So all that's been taken into account.
and are these, where, will we have good service, I guess is my question.
Yes, and I want to reiterate too, these meters that we're providing here on this quote, they are the bulk of your expense to have an AMI with gateway towers to automatically read from your office here. So the gateways themselves with installation, around $40,000 to $50,000 a piece. For a town this size, I would say no more than 3 to cover the entire town. So this is obviously the big investment, is getting the physical meters in the ground.
Right.
But speaking on ROI, I've said it a million times, if you're going to allocate your resources to anything in your water system, it needs to be your water meters, because they're one of the few things that generate revenue for a municipality. And speaking on having 6 people 5 days a month reading meters, town of Ocean Isle Beach is about the same size as you guys, around 4,000 meters. They read their entire meter system in under 2 hours with one guy. Didn't leave the truck once. So talking about the labor and the truck rolls expense, it's substantial.
Where are you supporting us out of? Where are you located? If
I
I
live
may?
in Wilmington.
Okay, so the company is local.
Yes, sir.
It's not a national company in St. Louis or something.
No, we're actually based out of St. Louis, ironically, but yes, we
You're
have
nowhere.
about 375 locations across the country, but I work out of our Wilmington office.
So everything will come out of there in support of us technically and mechanically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sling, I just didn't know. I didn't know if you knew anything on it or not. I'm ignorant.
I didn't.
Okay.
What about an ongoing cost to keep these products? Is there a yearly?
There is it is line item 130. I don't know if that's region, but there's a software subscription. It's an annual subscription fee, and it's $1.60 per meter per year. So that would be the only annual fee.
And to give you some information, Commissioner Shaw, what we pay now is roughly $20,000 a year in software.
So $1.50 on 3,000, so $4,500 a year, roughly.
We've got in there 2,700 meters roughly, but it totals out to be $4,320 per year. So,
okay.
So, and speaking on the lifespan of the system, said 20 years, that's just the warranty for the meters. Everything is covered for 20 years on the meter side, registers, meter body, antennas, all that. But we've seen systems last a lot longer. We've done projects where we're pulling meters out that are 35, 40 years old, and they're still counting with 98% accuracy, 99% accuracy. So the meters themselves are warranted 20 years, but we expect if it goes anything less than 20 years, we've failed them. So it's our lifespan expectancy.
So that was going to be one of the questions I had was, in your experience, other towns. So just like you said, this is a revenue source, so it's very important. But the old meters that we have in the ground right now that we're going to be replacing, what's a ballpark percentage? Obviously those meters are getting older and we might be missing some readings. So this would improve our system to maximize our revenue, essentially.
Yeah, so that's that's where it just gets tricky. Every meter is different.
Right.
Like I said, we've pulled meters out that we put them on a test bench, they're still reading 99%. So you didn't get much benefit from a
Right.
new meter there. We've seen some that are 20 years old and they're reading 80%, 20% on every meter. That adds up, you know, but the Neptune brand is, I think, one out of about 5 or 6 different major manufacturers. I stand by them through and through. They're a time-tested water meter that they've got substantial history backing up their slow decline in registering the water flow.
So a water meter in general over time tends to read less. It goes down on the reading rather than possibly going up at all due to the functionality.
It'll never go up. So
It'll never go up.
these meters that you guys have in the ground currently and the ones that we've quoted on here, they're mechanical meters and they're positive displacement. So there's a disc that
Right.
rotates. As water comes in, it moves the disc. The register counts how many times that
Yes,
disc
sir.
is rotating. So there's no way for it to count backwards.
Right.
And so over time, any meter with moving parts in there will obviously, the analogy I like to use is a used car driving off of a lot. So the moment you drive it off that lot, it depreciates in value. Over time, that meter will.
So theoretically, our water billing should go up.
Yes.
Okay.
For this project specifically, we are retrofitting most of your meters with your actual meter body itself. Will stay. We're just gonna put our register on top so that it can be used with our.
So it is interchangeable. We don't have to physically dig up. We just take a top off, put a top on.
And that's gonna expedite your
Okay.
installation.
Good, thank you. I didn't know these
Because
things.
You don't have to unscrew and pull the meter.
I have to change every meter.
Register on and off.
So, thank you.
Absolutely.
This is one of the water meters.
All right, lesson time. All right.
So the brass piece is the body.
Right.
Very similar to what you
Yeah.
currently have. And then this top piece is gonna be the register. So this one is locked in place because it's a whole unit, but the one that's currently out there will be popped off. This one popped on to the bodies that are in the ground. So there will be no disruption to the water at all for the majority of the system.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that.
Okay, any other questions? If not, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the bid proposal as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, if you would, item G.
Yes, sir. This is a response to our findings that were presented in our audit. I believe it was 2 months ago. I think it was November. It could have been December meeting, but originally we were not expected to give a response. In discussing with the local government commission, the LGC, they recommended we give a response. This is a form of the town staff and council being proactive to remove us from the unit assistance list. I will give you a little bit of context as to the finding. It is listed in its entirety with recommendations from the auditor as well as staff in your agenda packet. But as the auditor discussed in November or December, this finding was one that took place before any of the staff currently employed by the town. It was only discovered as a result of our finance software conversion, which is a good thing. You don't know what you don't know. So this gives us an opportunity to address it and most importantly, an opportunity to fix it moving forward. Mayor, if there are no questions on the findings, the fact finding letter that's listed in the agenda packet, staff would ask that the board approve it as presented.
Entertain a motion to approve the letter to local government commission as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, any discussion?
I hope this is resolved. It don't happen again.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right. Item 4 is public hearing. We have a public hearing that is scheduled tonight to consider the request to approve the non-contiguous annexation with a zoning amendment for 32.91 acres located in Sandy Ridge Campground off Highway 701 North. At the November 18, 2025 meeting, the board directed the town clerk to investigate the sufficiency of a voluntary annexation petition submitted by Market Crossing, which is Sandy Ridge Campground, for 32.91 non-contiguous acres located off Highway 701. The investigations have been completed as required by General Statute 168-58.2, and a certificate of sufficiency was presented. At the November 20th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Board meeting, the Planning Board reviewed the zoning map amendment request and found it consistent with the objectives and policies in the adopted land use plan, and makes the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to approve the zoning map amendment under GS 160D.604. At the public hearing scheduled for tonight for comments from the public, as is our adopted policy. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up prior to the 7 p.m. start time for our meeting. We have retrieved the sign up sheet for public hearing. There is one, no one signed up to speak. So at this point, I will open the hearing, and having no one signed up to speak at the public hearing, I will at this time close the hearing after not receiving any public comments with no one being signed up. Okay, the next, this is next addressed under our ordinances and resolutions under number 5. And so item 5A, Sean, if you would take that, please.
Yes, sir. This is the ordinance that accompanies the language for the extension of the corporate limits via the general statutes. This, of course, is for Sandy Ridge on the ordinance number 2026-02 for the 32.91 acres that was aforementioned in Mayor Womble's public hearing update. And as you see in your agenda packet, upon and after January 13th, 2026, the described territory and its citizens and properties shall be subject to all debts, laws, ordinances, and regulations in force of the town of White Lake, and shall be entitled to the same privileges and benefits as other parts of the town of White Lake. Said territory shall be subject to the municipal taxes according to General Statute 160A-58.10. Mayor, if there are no questions, staff would ask that the board adopt ordinance 2026-02 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And item B, that's primarily just a ministerial matter at this point, but we entertain a motion to amend the official zoning map since we have approved bringing into the town limits the 32.91 acres. And so we have to amend the official zoning map to apply business B zoning classification to the property.
So moved.
This time I'd entertain a motion to approve or adopt the ordinance as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Item C, we discussed previously the town of White Lake personnel policy updates. There was some indication that you wanted some additional time to be able to look at this. So I would entertain a motion either to adopt it, or if you want additional time to look at it, you can move to table this to the February meeting. I'll entertain a motion either way.
I'll entertain a motion to table, but I don't know if we need to adjourn this meeting to have somewhat of a workshop, so we can get these answered, and have Zoom meetings with that lady to answer the questions we got.
My suggestion would be that you talk with the town administrator and with any questions that you have. Now you'll have sufficient time to review it. And if need be, we can see about setting up something or bringing the person back to the next meeting.
I like to bring it back. I'd like to have the persons drafting this thing answer.
Well,
questions
let's
I have.
just see first if we do that. If we do, fine. If not, we won't. So what's your motion?
Table till February, and we can see
Okay.
we have
Been a motion to table item C on the town of White Lake personnel policy. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, it is tabled to the next meeting. Okay. All right, next is the budget ordinance amendment. 2026-09. Sean, if you will take that and item E.
Yes, sir. For item D, budget ordinance amendment 2026-09. This is miscellaneous police revenue. This is actually to account for a donation received from Camp Clearwater. I would like to say thank you for that. To recognize our White Lake Police Department during their 2025 contributions to the Harvest Festival. If there are no questions, Mayor, staff would ask that the board approve budget ordinance 2026-09 as presented.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion second.
Who made the
Second.
motion?
Who made the second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, and shown item C.
Item E is Budget Ordinance Amendment 2026-10. This is in the Sewer Wastewater Infrastructure Fund in the sum of $15,280. This is to account for the proceeds received from the insurance company to account for our bypass pump that was put on site in place of the lift station operation. If there are no questions, Mayor, staff would ask that the board approve Budget Ordinance 2026-10 as presented.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Under item 6, other business. Is there any brief matters from commissioners at this time that are not on the agenda that we need to address? If not, we've got,
Can we invite the new county manager to come to one of our meetings? So we'd like the meeting. That's where the goose lays the golden egg. So if we can extend him an offer to come introduce himself to the board.
I'm sure Sean will be glad to do that.
Yes, sir.
So since Sean's report was not discussed, is this the time we need to talk about occupancy tax?
It's not on the agenda, so I don't know what you're talking about with occupancy tax.
It was in his report.
Well, no, it's not. The town administrator's report is just what it is. I understand you want us to look at the occupancy tax. You talked to Sean about that. Sean is addressing that and looking at it so he can provide a report to the board at the February meeting, and we'll have it on the agenda for that time.
Well, I'm interested in hearing what questions the board may have on that. Because I asked repeatedly to have it on the agenda for discussion tonight.
And Sean asked me about it, and I didn't put it on the agenda for tonight because we need to gather some information that we can present to the board at the February meeting. I want to be able to have the appropriate information to hopefully be able to answer their questions, and we will make every effort to do that.
You tell me every meeting, if you want something on the agenda, tell Sean.
Yeah, as long as you do it on a timely basis, it works well.
Well, I've given him plenty of resources and contacts to answer any questions he has.
He is investigating at this time. I have still some unanswered questions in regard to it, and I want him to be able to present a report to the board, and we have not had time to do that. We will do it at the February meeting.
All right.
The departmental briefings and reports are provided as always and are available for public inspection if anyone would like to see those. Item B, Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Municipal Complex closure is January the 19th in observance of Martin Luther King holiday. We will have a public works on-call person available in case of water sewer emergencies. Item C, North Carolina Local Government Commission Installment Financing Contract. We've gotten approval from them for the police vehicle financing. And by the way, we are continuing to look to see if we can find any better financing rate because those do appear to be falling at least a little bit at this time. And if we can find a better rate, we will do that and advise you accordingly. All of you are invited to the annual Elizabethtown White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce Night of Excellence 2026 at the annual awards gala. That will be held Saturday, February 7th at Cape Fear Vineyard and Winery. Please let staff know if you would like to attend, and we can provide tickets for your attendance for that. Item E is the primary early voting. Board of Elections has announced that the 2026 primary early voting will begin February 12, 2026. Primary election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2026. And understand we got somebody here from the new Board of Elections guy.
I just wanted to come to introduce myself. I am James Nancy Bird. I am y'all's new county elections director for Blaine County. One of the roles of the former director. Basically I did the place by my board to be y'all's new director of elections for Blaine County. I'm ready to serve y'all. Anything y'all need from my staff, you're gonna help y'all and then the municipality election. So y'all, my office, I'm here to help each election.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nance.
Appreciate you being with us tonight. If y'all will notice in your packet too, I think it is next to the last page, the early voting locations as set by the county are listed there. There are 6 locations. The closest for us would be the National Guard Armory in Elizabethtown. But wanted to let you know it has the dates and when that will be open. And so again, that will begin February the 12th. At this time, we're at our open forum, 3 minutes per citizen. Need to state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. There's no one to address the board at open forum. That concludes our business for tonight. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.